So I'm going to call the meeting. I will now call to order the THPRD Board of Directors meeting for April 13th, 2022. Jessica, can you please call roll?
Tia Ping.
Here.
Heidi Edwards.
Here.
Barbie Miner.
Here.
Felicita Monteblanco.
Here.
Alfredo Moreno.
Did Alfredo say here? Oh, I didn't hear it.
Alfredo?
Nope, sorry, I was automatically muted. I'm here.
All right. So before we start our agenda this evening, we as a district want to take a moment of silence to recognize the tragic loss of Amara Marluk, an exceptional young woman who volunteered in a variety of capacities with the district. Amara volunteered as a youth leader for our summer camps for 2 years, but as many of us got to know Amara through her leadership with Sunset High School's Black Student Union. She was a key youth organizer for our Talking Walls at the Sunset Sports Complex. Her mural at the site is Fulami, the Unapologetically Black Woman, and is incredibly moving. In Amara's own words, she described the mural like this: Fulami demands respect for her people. She's not ashamed to be Black and embraces herself. She finds fulfillment in her striking features. Fulami normalizes the idea of being Black and beautiful without needing to whitewash or change any part of herself or culture. From the top of her dooku to the bottom of her heart, she is bold, confident, and strong. Amara also spearheaded the I Have a Dream installation visible from Cornell Road. This piece was 100% Amara's idea. Again, in her own words, the reason I chose this saying is because I want the public to see that these children have a future and are valuable. The Black Fist is to remind them how racism threatens to take away children of color. Let these paintings show Black unity, show how Martin Luther King's dream is still possible to come true. It's incredibly heartbreaking to lose such an amazing, thoughtful, talented, spirited young woman and way too soon. Our thoughts and prayers are with Amara's family and loved ones right now. And on behalf of everyone at THPRD who has had the privilege of working with Amara, please know we all carry her memory and are incredibly light with us. And her incredible light with us as we continue the community building and work that she was such an important part of. So we'll give a moment of silence for her. All right, and then thank you everyone for taking the time to really think about who she is and how she reflects our district. To move on, let's do we have any results from our executive session?
Yes, I would like to.
Oh, maybe all of us do.
Heidi, you can go first, and then
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Second.
Yes, from executive session, I'd like to move that the Board of Directors authorize the acquisition of land and the use of system development charge credits for trail improvements in the southwest quadrant of the district for consideration discussed in executive session, subject to the standard due diligence, review, and approval by the general manager.
I'll second.
Alfredo Moreno.
Yes.
Felicita Monteblanco.
Yes.
Barbie Miner.
Yes.
Heidi Edwards.
Yes.
Tia Ping.
And I think I have another motion I'd also like to make from executive session. I'd like to move that the Board of Directors authorize the dedication of right-of-way and temporary construction easement in the southeast quadrant of the district for consideration discussed in executive session, subject to the standard due diligence review and approval by the general manager.
I'll second.
Felicita Monteblanco.
Yes.
Alfredo Moreno.
Yes.
Barbie Miner.
Yes.
Heidi Edwards,
Yes.
Tia Ping.
All right, and we have a couple proclamations this month, so we will move on to our first one for our wonderful volunteers. Is everybody ready? Give me a second. All right, so whereas volunteerism is about giving, contributing, and helping others throughout the community, and THPRD would not be able to achieve all that we do without the gift of service and the dedication of our volunteers. And
whereas THPRD's volunteers serve in a variety of ways, from helping with community events, habitat and natural area restorations, park and trail cleanups, nature education, summer youth volunteers, sporting events, and so much more. And
Whereas last year, approximately 1,000 people contributed almost 9,000 hours to THPRD, and
whereas the value of volunteers' contributions to THPRD is nearly 200,000. Oh my gosh, 200,300.
233,000.
Oh my goodness, I'm awake, I promise. Dollars. And
Whereas volunteer help was especially valuable during the COVID-19 pandemic, as so many district resources have been impacted, and our volunteer community's gifts of their talent and service are so tremendously appreciated. And
Whereas volunteerism brings us together as a community, it breaks down barriers and provides everyone an opportunity to better our park and recreation system. And
whereas THPRD's volunteers help the district fulfill our mission to provide high-quality park and recreation facilities, programs, services, and natural areas that meet the needs of the diverse community we serve.
now, therefore, the Board of Directors of the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District does hereby declare the month of April 2022 as National Volunteer Month, and do urge all those in the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District to support and promote this observance.
thank you, everyone.
Yay, volunteers. Thank you.
Totally. Okay. And I think our second one is we're going to have an assistant with us helping to read, right, Doug?
Julie has a quick
Yes,
intro for us.
I'll do the introduction. So good evening, Board of Directors. It's my pleasure to introduce Rita Salmo. She's a customer engagement representative at Garden Home Recreation. She'll be sharing some of her story, and then we'll be reading the proclamation in Arabic. Rita?
Thank you, Julie. Good evening, board members. My name is Rita Salmo, and I'm the bilingual customer engagement representative at Garden Home Center, and I am so happy to be part of your meeting tonight. I would like to share a little bit about my background. In 2017, my children and I had to leave our home country, Iraq, along with my husband and everything else, to seek asylum here in the United States. Just to find a better life, a safer life for our children. In 2018, my children and I moved from California to Oregon, where I found my first American job at THPRD. I worked for the district as a part-time employee for 2 years between Conestoga Recreation and Aquatic Center and the Human Resources Department. In late 2020, I graduated from Pacific University with an MBA degree, and I was offered a position at the same university until my return to THPRD almost 6 months ago. In February of this year, I was awarded the Welcoming and Inclusive Committee $5,000 grant to host the district's first Arab community event, Marhaba. Marhaba, which means hello in Arabic, is held to honor the Arab community in the Beaverton area and to celebrate both the Arab American Heritage Month and the Muslim feast of Eid al-Fitr. This event will promote a healthy and active lifestyle to this underserved group of refugees and newcomers, and will welcome them to THPRD diverse community and workforce. THPRD's mission and vision will be fulfilled by Marhaba's event by fostering an inclusive and welcoming environment for all. And the outcome is going to be a great win, a long-term win for both THPRD and the Arab community. This event means a lot to me on the personal and the professional level. And therefore, I want to take this opportunity to invite you all to participate in this event. Please join us at Garden Home Recreation Center on May 7 from 1 to 3 p.m. To enjoy Arabic music, food, and get to meet current and future district participants. Finally, I want you all to know that I'm so grateful to be here tonight and to be able to represent my culture by reading the National Arab American Heritage Month for you in Arabic. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita, and thank you so much for everything you've done. And I'm so excited for that event because that's what our grants are for, is to bring all these new different things to here and bring more people into it and just make us more welcoming for everyone. So thank you for all your work, and we're so lucky to have you. Okay, so we'll get started. So whereas for over a century, Arab Americans have been making valuable contributions to virtually every aspect of American society in medicine, law, business, education, technology, government, military service, culture, and...
Whereas since
Oh,
migrating...
Heidi, I think Rita's going to read. And then after, yeah.
Sorry about that, Rita, please.
No worries. لقد قدم الأمريكيون العرب على مدى أكثر من قرن مساهمات قيمة في أغلب جوانب المجتمع الأمريكي: الطب، القانون، الأعمال التجارية، التعليم، التكنولوجيا، الحكومة، الخدمة العسكرية والثقافة.
And whereas, since migrating to America, people of Arab descent have shared their rich culture and traditions with neighbors and friends, and
منذ الهجرة إلى أمريكا شارك المنحدرون من أصل عربي ثقافاتهم وتقاليدهم الغنية مع جيرانهم وأصدقائهم.
Whereas Arab Americans have shared their resilient family values, strong work ethic, dedication to family, education, tradition, and culture, and added to the strength of our nation's democracy, and
لقد شارك العرب الأمريكيون قيمهم الأسرية المتينة، أخلاقيات العمل القوية، والتفاني في الأسرة، التعليم، التقاليد والثقافة، وأضافوا إلى قوة ديمقراطية أمتنا.
Whereas the history of Arab Americans in the U.S. remains neglected or defaced by misconceptions, bigotry, and anti-Arab hate in the forms of crimes and hate speech, and
إن تاريخ العرب الأمريكيين في الولايات المتحدة لا يزال مهملاً أو مشوهاً بالمفاهيم الخاطئة، التعصب الأعمى والكراهية ضد العرب، والتي تظهر على شكل جرائم وخطاب كراهية.
Whereas Arab American issues such as civil rights abuses, harmful stereotyping, religious bigotry, and bullying must be overcome in the forms of education, awareness, tolerance, and building new community connections and understanding.
يجب التغلب على انتهاكات الحقوق المدنية، الصور النمطية الضارة، التعصب الديني، والتنمر ضد القضايا العربية الأمريكية، وذلك من خلال التعليم والتوعية والتسامح وفهم وبناء روابط مجتمعية جديدة.
Whereas the incredible contributions and heritage of Arab Americans have helped us become a better nation, and
لقد ساعدتنا المساهمات الرائعة للأمريكيين العرب وتراثهم على أن نصبح أمة أفضل.
Now, therefore, the Board of Directors of the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District does hereby declare the month of April 2022 as National Arab American Heritage Month, and do urge all those in the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District to support and promote this observance.
الآن وبناء على هذا يعلن مجلس إدارة توالتن هيلز بارك أند ريكريشن ديستريكت إن شهر نيسان هو شهر التراث العربي الأمريكي القومي، ويحث جميع المتواجدين في توالتن هيلز بارك أند ريكريشن ديستريكت على دعم وتعزيز هذا الاحتفال.
thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rita.
Thank you, Rita.
Thank you all.
Okie dokie. Okay, next is audience time. I think we did not have testimony for either verbal or written. Is that right?
That's correct.
Correct.
Okay. So committee liaison updates. Who wants to go? Don't all put your hands up at one time. Are you going to make me pick on you? Felicita, thank you. All the way from Vegas.
For you, Gian. Let's see, I wrote down stuff. I had sent an email to folks about the preschool for all work, the synopsis of phase 1. Heidi has agreed to engage in phase 2. Thank you, Heidi. And so in the future, we will probably get up to Heidi about phase 2. After school care, I'm going to let Tia talk about that. Nature and Trails Advisory Committee, March meeting included a presentation from the Washington County Tree Keepers, information about spring maintenance operations, and the climate action plan. I had a nice chat with the Washington County Kids Museum and Mayor Beatty, and it looks like one of our own board members is going to be engaging more deeply in that. I think that's it. I know everyone's working hard on various other projects, so thanks.
Thank you. Who's next? I'm going alphabetically. Alfredo.
Tualatin Hill Park Foundation just completed their week of giving, and I believe had brought in almost 4,000, thanks to the collective effort. So I wanted to recognize the effort of everyone who serves on that board. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Barbie.
Sure. Again, just representing an update from the Programs and Events Committee. I wasn't able to attend last month, but I have connected with folks and did receive an update. So just happy to share that we were able to select our committee chairperson, as well as we kind of reviewed and discussed the new Centro de Bienvenida, and how we're going to be taking that kind of week-long registration into the summer registration as well, and just how wonderful that program being expanded and what that's providing for our community. I think looking ahead, there was some discussion about, again, 8 a.m. reservations and registration on Saturdays, but I think our crew is going to continue to look into that. The survey that was put out during springtime didn't really result in an overwhelming demand for change, so I think we're just going to keep our eye on that and revisit that in the future. That's all I've got.
Heidi.
Yes, I don't have a lot to report. It's been a little bit quiet, but I will say I had the opportunity to attend the Viva Valenzuela Voice event that we had over at Jenkins Estate, which was really well attended, even though it was stormy and rainy to begin with. The sun came out and it was a lot of fun with great music, food, art, entertainment, and a lot of wonderful cultural opportunities to learn from. I also want to say I'm thankful for the opportunity to serve on phase 2 with the Preschool for All Planning Committee. Thank you for handing that over, and I will report back to you about that this upcoming month. And also just in reflection, I did attend Amara Marluk's service this last weekend. It was an incredible event. Had the opportunity to be there with Holly Thompson and Lulu and really celebrate the amazing accomplishments of this incredible young woman whose legacy is going to live on through our park district and in our community. So I don't know the exact head count, but that young woman filled a whole ballroom at Portland State University. Hundreds and hundreds of people were there to honor her life. So I'm glad we're doing that too. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. As for myself, like Felista said, her and I met with the city of Beaverton, some people from the school district, some people from Washington County commissioners. And so we continued our second conversation and meeting for potentially expanding after school care at the Beaverton School District or at our THPRD locations. And so I think from THPRD side and from the Beaverton School District side, we're all really excited and prepared and ready to go whenever. And just as usual, funding is the hard part. And so Mayor Beatty is graciously spearheading that part along with Pam Trees from City County Commissioners. So we're really excited and just kind of waiting until we see what we can come up with. And then also, like Felicia mentioned, there is a potential, a new Beaverton, well, a new children's museum is hoping to open up in Beaverton and in East Portland eventually. And so they just got their nonprofit certification the other day. So yay, they're completely legit now. And then they've invited me to be a part of the board. So we will see come May if that happens. But I'm super excited about the potential cooperation between THPRD and that, and just that for Beaverton to have something like that would be amazing for all of our families and all of our children. And they're really excited about making it a little bit different than the previous Portland Children's Museum, of making it very inclusive and very reflective of the community as far as what exhibits and things that are offered, to make sure that we accommodate everyone and create a welcoming space. So that's just really wonderful to be able to be there from the ground up. So yeah. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for the updates. And then we have unfinished business. So we will start with the sports affiliation review process with Julie.
Yes.
Actually, if we could, Tia, we still have the consent agenda.
Oh, right. See, I always skip that one. Thank you, Doug. Okay,
No
do I have an
worries.
action for consent agenda?
Yeah. This is Felicia. I approve the consent agenda as submitted.
I have a second.
Second from Alfredo.
Sounds good. Jessica, can you call vote?
Heidi Edwards,
Yes.
Barbie Minor,
Yes.
Alfredo Moreno,
Yes.
Felicita Monteblanco,
Yes.
Tia Ping.
Yes. Okay, now Julie.
All right.
All right. Well, good evening, Board of Directors. I'm Julie Rocha, your Interim Sports and Inclusion Director. I'm here this evening joined by staff and 2 members of our sports stakeholder work group to present the final recommendation of the sports affiliate review process. The board has been updated 5 times since February of 2021, including 2 work sessions. This evening, I'm joined by Jeff Lee, Brian Yorstone, Lori Leach, Carrie Andrews, and Stan Hawkins. I'll turn it over to Jeff.
Good evening, Board of Directors. My name is Jeff Lee, and I'm the Program Specialist in the Sports Department. This evening, we will go over the final recommendations for the sports affiliate review process. First, we wanted to review the process. To do this, we created the stakeholder work group, which consists of 11 community members. Staff, along with the stakeholder work group, wanted to create as inclusive an outreach process as possible. We performed the outreach to all of our existing affiliates, as well as organizations interested in affiliating with THPRD, and held a public meeting that highlighted the key changes to the process. Staff had 3 separate meetings with groups that are seeking affiliation to make sure that their unique perspectives were heard. The stakeholder work group has been meeting for the past 10 months to improve the affiliate application process. To date, we have hosted 10 stakeholder work group meetings and 8 subcommittee meetings. Next slide, please. This evening, we have with us 2 members of the stakeholder work group to talk about the process and the important work the stakeholder work group has accomplished. I would like to introduce Carrie Andrews with the Tualatin Hills Dive Club and Stan Hawkins with Westview Youth Baseball. Carrie?
Good evening, board members. I wanted to start by saying that it has been a pleasure to work with this work group and the subcommittee during these past 10 months. We've all worked really well together and seen each other's perspectives. I'll tell you, I'm from the aquatic side, so I had no idea what happens on the field side of the table, but it has really honestly been a pleasure to work with all of these people and hear the different perspectives and come to, bring everyone's ideas together into something that will address the needs of our community. With that said, I think that one of the biggest goals that we reached in this process was a consistent application of the rules, the application process, the affiliate applications between both the water and the field sports side. I think that there was quite a big discrepancy. So everyone will be on level playing fields as far as what's expected of them, the rules, the process, the impacts that their actions have. I also think that within that framework, we were able to evaluate and understand the community needs and where us as affiliates and even as the whole THPRD group may be not understanding or providing services to some of those community needs. And so I think that brought us all onto the same page to be able to address those needs within our own teams and boards, as well as the whole group.
Thank you, Carrie. Next, we have Stan Hawkins.
Yep, I am Stan Hawkins, and Brian and Jeff asked me to be on this board, and it was actually quite a bit of fun seeing behind the curtain of what some of the other clubs do. I had no idea what swimming and football and soccer did, but I'm pretty confident in the baseball sports. I've been doing Westview baseball for quite some time, and so I've got that pretty good base there, but it was just fascinating to see what the other groups were doing. In being on this committee was a lot of fun to see the ideas that were getting thrown out there, and then kind of starting to refine some of them, and then actually getting the nuts and bolts of the ideas down was really neat to see that process. And working with the group gave me a much better idea what the affiliates are and what they have to go through to get an affiliate. I had no idea beforehand because we had just always been an affiliate. So it was neat to see how that comes about. And if somebody was trying to get in on being an affiliate, it was a neat process to see. And I think we set up some fair and equal guidelines for everybody to follow, both existing and then new people wanting to come on board, so that everybody has a fair shot to be an affiliate in the THPRD district. And I just want to say thanks to Jeff, Brian, Julie for having me.
Thank you, Carrie and Stan. You will now hear from Brian Yorstone about the group's recommendations. Next slide, please.
Thanks, Jeff. Good evening. My name is Brian Yorstone, Center Supervisor of the Athletics Center and the Babette Hornstein Tennis Center. I will be discussing the recommendations that the stakeholder work group worked towards throughout the process. Prior to the review, aquatics and sports had different requirements and application processes. The stakeholder work group streamlined the criteria and created a single application for consistency between departments. We created an equitable review process where community volunteers will assist with both reaffiliation and the new affiliate process. For fairness, like sports will not evaluate one another. For example, a soccer club would not be allowed to review an application of another soccer club. Each new affiliate will be required to submit policies that address diversity, equity, inclusion, and access. Capacities were updated to assist with the decision-making process when bringing on new groups. We need to ensure the field and pool space have the capacity to meet the needs of the organization applying. Next slide, please. As mentioned earlier, the sports and aquatic departments have streamlined the process, and any potential affiliate will have the same criteria when applying. Our current affiliate within the stakeholder work group came up with the idea of a scorecard with 13 items to hold one another accountable, along with a rubric of expectations. Examples of items that will be scored after every season are DEIA requirements, in-district percentages, and respecting other clubs, along with Tualatin Hills staff. We created a policy and procedure which clearly defines the process of applying for affiliation. The stakeholder work group shortened the re-affiliation timeline from a 5 to a 3-year cycle. For organizations seeking affiliation, they can apply at any time, but there will be a 6-month review process, and staff will need to ensure there is capacity available. We implemented an out-of-district fee structure where clubs will be responsible for additional fees to be consistent with Tualatin Hills policy. In field sports, participants do not register with Tualatin Hills, making it challenging to collect out-of-district fees from individual families. To fix this problem, Clubs will now be responsible for paying 25% of the annual out-of-district assessment fee based on the number of out-of-district players. This cost will be added to the seasonal invoice. This is consistent with the 25% premium charge out-of-district patrons pay for classes if they decide not to pay the quarterly or annual assessment fee. In the past, affiliated sports have been excluded from this option. I will now turn it over to Lori Leach, who will discuss next steps.
Thanks, Brian. So, hello, I'm Lori Leach, Aquatic Center Supervisor. Our next steps will begin with educating our current affiliates and other organizations requesting affiliation on our new process. We are including THPRD and the Beaverton School District boundaries as in-district to be as inclusive as possible. The stakeholder work group feels this is most equitable for the represented participants. To promote THPRD's mission of diversity, equity, inclusion, and access, DEIA, and based on the board's recommendation at the last work session, we created a diversity, equity, inclusion, and access resource guide, which is included in the application materials. The application and reaffiliation timelines for each sport will be published and communicated with the current affiliates and those seeking affiliation. Staff will update the THPRD website with community use, drop-in information, and the affiliation packet. The team is in the process of completing updates to the district compiled policy 8 and will be back for board approval in the future. That concludes our presentation, and we'll now go to questions.
Thank you. Anybody have questions? No questions. Lisa?
This is so amazing. And this is, I know, I mean, I have a sense of how much hard work was put into this. So thank you to everyone. And I also know that this maybe isn't like the sexiest of topics, but this is so critical to our community, and it's something that we've heard about for years, right? And so I'm so appreciative to everyone who worked on this, that brought their values, that brought their lived experience. I'm so excited to be able to talk to people about this when they ask, because I mean, we've heard the frustrations, right? And so thank you to everyone who's done the work on this. My only question was, you mentioned submitting materials showcasing a commitment to DEIA, and maybe it isn't decided yet. Like, what are you looking for? What's sufficient? Does that make sense?
Are you talking regarding the scorecard or when they're submitting their application?
I don't know, Julie.
Yeah, so we have two parts. So as part of the application process, we're providing a resource guide that was suggested from the board from the last work session to help folks start their work. A lot of it is happening at the national body where they can start doing some little things to start implementing that. And we have some basic guidelines on the scorecard that I'll ask Jeff or Brian to talk about that score out how we will address that. So Brian or Jeff?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Julie. Can you repeat that real quick?
The scoring rubric on the DI work on the scorecard.
Yeah, we definitely want to make sure that that each affiliate has policies in place to ensure that that is a priority for each affiliate. And then again, after every season, we will through the scorecard ensure that we are qualifying what they're doing.
So examples are they providing a DEIA training for their members and their coaches? Do they have policies in place if they have hired staff? So a lot of the competitive clubs have paid staff. So do they have rules in place that make them an equal employer? And so those are some of the key things that we'll be looking at. Do they have a statement, a mission statement, values around DEIA work? Is that posted on their website? Are they living out those values? A big question we ask is, what are you doing for scholarship? Yes, we have money through THPRD, but what are you doing to also help those who can't afford to pay the high amount to do year-round sports? So those are some of the questions that we're asking the clubs to start working on now, and that we're here as a resource to help them through that.
That's awesome. That's exactly what is need your voice and service. I was sort of curious if there was any consideration or anything that had to do with the affiliates and age levels, because our affiliates serve different ages. Was there anything that we had to consider, or the group had to consider, as it related to those who are in middle school versus high school, or just out of curiosity?
Yeah, well, we actually have adult affiliates.
And adult affiliates, yes, of course.
So this process is all encompassing. So regardless if you're recreation, competitive, high school, adults, it's all the same criteria that you'll need to follow. And we did have representation of those adult affiliates on the stakeholder work group.
Okay, great. Yeah, I wasn't sure if there was a difference within those lines of age groups, but it's good to hear that there's consistency. I know Felicita and I, when a couple years ago, we had a few people getting in touch with us about affiliates and asking questions. And so this was really on the radar, and really grateful for the work you've done. Thank you, Julie and team and volunteers, for all of it. Very important.
Thank you.
I had a couple questions, and I had sent some previously, but I wanted to double check. So I had previously asked about if we are focusing on creating space for our community members also to come just rent the open times and whatnot. But so if and then somebody, when one of my questions were answered, somebody had mentioned that if THPRD is sponsoring or co-sponsoring, then they would have priority access. And then but I was trying to figure out where on the cost of field rentals, does that mean that they would get the affiliate rate if it was a sponsored or co-sponsored event?
Well, typically, if we're doing an event where we're sponsoring that, there probably wouldn't be field fees involved. So when we partner with some groups, they're not being charged currently. So we're going to have kind of 3 tiers of community use, right? Those events that THPRD is sponsoring. Then we're going to have just drop-in time where we'll just have these fields are available at these time, and it's a first come, first serve basis. We are aware of some drop-in soccer groups that are out at Mountain View, and they go to Loa High School, and they're looking for, fields. And so we're going to propose that time. And then we have the community use time, which is designated time that's consistent. So that would be like a Monday, Wednesday on these fields, that if there was, so we're working with one of the local mosques, and so they have an allocation where we actually give them the field on Wednesdays as a community use, where they're able, or I think it's Fridays actually, Jeff can correct me if wrong, but I think it's Fridays, where they have a permit to play. And right now we are not charging them. So what we're trying to do is open up the fields, and that was our pilot, to make sure that folks have an opportunity to play, and that not every single field is allocated or pool space to the max. And that's why the capacity levels were so important. So we need to understand what we're currently using, what's not being used, and how do we carve out that time so that the community has access. And that was really important throughout this entire process.
I love it. Thank you so much. I know you just mentioned that it was a pilot, but is there a place on our website where, like, if they want to do, like, apply for like a co-sponsorship event or apply for one of these things, like, that they would go to get information so that's transparent for the whole community?
Yeah, so that's in our next steps. We currently do not, but we will be creating the affiliate packet, so folks can see how it is to be affiliate, where that drop-in time is, and then how they get a hold of us if they're interested in community time. So we're going to put all that on the sports webpage. It's not currently there, but that's the next steps once we get the direction to move forward, that staff will start working on.
Lovely. And then have we in the past had to not allow a potential affiliate because we don't have a space? Have we run into that already?
Most of it is that we were on hold while we were doing this process. And then the other part is a lot of folks can't meet the requirements of the 80-20 percentage. We do know that there are a few seeking affiliation that we have space for. I think aquatics is going to be challenging just with the current state of where we are as a district and pools being closed, and we need to build back our programs. But we're aware of that as we start to look at other options. So, through this process, we don't want to create a new process and then everybody who's seeking affiliation is denied. And so we wanted to make it.
It was more of like if we've gotten to that point in the past, or if we anticipate it in the future, are we going to be using the scorecard as like, well,
yes,
this one's coming in now, but well, your scorecard hasn't been as well, so we're going to give this person a chance to score better than you. I don't know.
Yeah, so we have a few processes built in. One is just evaluating our capacities each year. If clubs are consistently giving back large chunks of time, then we have to have those conversations of you don't need this much time allocated, right? We do know that youth sports has been down quite a bit due to the pandemic and all across the board. The other piece of that is we need to know how people are going to grow. We've had a few clubs fold in the past. We had a rec soccer group, and then we had one of our JVO baseball groups fall off. But now they're building back and wanting to come back. So, we look at all that field space, and then we have to be better about how we utilize the space, right? We can't have one team on a large soccer field all to themselves, right? It doesn't make sense to have 16 kids on that field. And so we look at how we can split up those spaces and accommodate more folks. Then just know that not all of it's going to be prime time. So there is time available, but it might not be the time you want.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Carrie and Stan, for coming and joining our meeting today. And thanks everybody for the wonderful work. It is just, I know this is something, pool time, field time was always something, even when we're canvassing for my campaign, was something that people were complaining about. So it's just lovely that we've gotten this far and have something that's transparent for our community to partake in. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is, go ahead, Doug.
I was going to jump in with the motion.
Yep.
All right, this is Barbie, and I move that the Board of Directors approve the affiliation process recommendations as presented and direct district staff to begin work in updating the affiliate policy contained within the district compiled policies.
This is Felicita. I'll second.
Jessica, can you call roll?
Alfredo Moreno?
Yes.
Heidi Edwards?
Yes, yes, yes.
Felicita Monteblanco?
Yes.
Barbie Minor?
Yes.
Tia Ping?
Yes. Okay, now General Manager.
Okay, we're going to move into volunteer programs. Before Melissa begins, I did want to acknowledge Jared Isaacson, our new CFO. This is his first official meeting.
Welcome.
Welcome. Okay, with that, we're going to move into volunteer programs. Melissa.
Hi there. Thanks for having me tonight. So just a little bit of an update on volunteers with the district. It's been another rough year with everyone hoping for an end to the pandemic around the corner. And although compared to a typical year, our volunteer community is much smaller, they are a force to be reckoned with for sure. Next slide, please. One of our growing pains over the last year was scrambling to implement a vaccine mandate for volunteers working indoors, and those volunteers also working with groups of patrons. And for the most part, this transition has been fairly smooth. Volunteers wishing to avoid sharing this information still have the opportunity to volunteer at our one-day events, as well as in many outdoor but ongoing volunteer positions. We were also able to reintroduce our expanded RISE offerings to teens this past year. Just before the pandemic began, we had introduced and rebranded our youth leadership program called Realizing Interest Through Service Experience, RISE for short. In addition to offering the opportunity to volunteer with summer camps, we also expanded offerings so teens now have the opportunity to provide leadership support at events as well as programs throughout the year. Youth are also now able to join the program year round, and this is a change to the program as well. Plus, we're piloting an expansion to the program to include 13-year-olds, which is going well so far. And traditionally, the program has been for 14 to 17-year-olds. Since the program reintroduction this past spring, we have recruited and trained about 130 volunteers, which is great. And we still have 100 volunteers still active in the program and more signing up every month. And over the past year, we were also able to bring back many of our indoor volunteer positions, including sports coaches, preschool and after school volunteers, junior lifeguards, and as well as our unpaid interns. This, of course, has been a great help to the staff who manage these programs as well. The last highlight of this past year is our expansion of our partnership with the Beaverton School District through their Career and Technical Education program. We started working with students in their sports medicine program to provide them with opportunities for professional development by putting their knowledge to practice. Pictured here is our intern, which you're going to meet here soon in one of the upcoming presentations, Miles Hamlet, who you will meet in just a couple of minutes, leading a fitness class with the students as they prepare to volunteer with our staff to provide health screenings for seniors. This is only the beginning of that partnership, which was originally cultivated pre-pandemic. So we're looking forward to maintaining, expanding that partnership and providing more professional development opportunities to BSD students in the future. Next slide, please. And looking forward to next year, we hope to continue providing and expanding on these opportunities, getting back to a new sense of normal for volunteers. Some of these improvements will include improving our webpage for our Spanish-speaking patrons. We're working very closely with our colleagues in the communications department to provide improved web resources for our Spanish-speaking patrons. We're also hoping to officially open the Rise Youth Leadership Program to 13-year-olds, of course. With this pilot program this year, as long as it goes well, we will continue down that path for next year. In addition, with recent upgrades provided by the vendor who supports our volunteer database, volunteers will soon have improved access to our volunteer forms using their mobile devices. Now, this was an unexpected upgrade, but we are excited to see it. It's been a barrier in the past. And as the kinks get worked out, we will roll out these new forms, transitioning to a more accessible version. We're also planning to leverage our resources to increase outreach on all of our workforce development programs, including our Rise Youth Leadership Program, junior lifeguards, and our internships. We will be partnering with a community organization to do this, but those details are still being worked out. In the meantime, the district is filling out some new ways to reach out to local high school students through outreach events, and the volunteer services team is also helping out with that effort. Next slide, please. Here are some great pictures of our volunteers doing their thing last year and some of their projects too. And that concludes my updates for you on the volunteer program, but I can take any questions or comments that you might have.
Anyone have questions? I just see claps all around.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to head Julie's way here for the next update.
All right. Well, this is my last one tonight, I promise. So good evening again. I'm Julie Rocha, your interim sports and inclusion director. And tonight I'm joined by Mackenzie Miller and Miles Hamlet to give you an update on THPRD's paid internship program called Diversify. The program is designed for college students who identify as Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and is based upon inequities, including the historic underrepresentation of racial and ethnic groups within park and recreation. Support and funding for Diversify is driven by our values of leading with equity, with special attention to racial equity. This work recognizes that there are systemic barriers that support inequities for decades that have been deeply embedded within government systems in our country. This program also aligns with the district's Vision Action Plan, including staff and volunteers who reflect the community, intentional engagement with diverse community groups, more volunteer and internship opportunities, career development opportunities through THPRD, welcoming and culturally responsive staff, partner with community groups and service providers, more training and resources for staff and volunteers. We are thrilled to share a progress update on the program's development, highlights, a personal experience from our first intern, Miles, and the program's next steps. I'll turn it over to Mackenzie Miller. Next slide, please.
Hello, I'm Mackenzie Miller, and I'm the Administrative Specialist within Recreation Services. And the internship program is a project I've had the opportunity to work on since April of 2021. The project team includes Julie, myself, Miles, who you'll hear from in just a moment, and Melissa Markham, who isn't joining this presentation, but who you just heard from earlier, and you should know has been integral behind the scenes. The development of this program started with outreach and research. We conducted 2 meetings with 8 THPRD staff members, all who have intern experience, and asked for recommendations and input. We met with staff managing the district's nature, experiences, and workforce training program for Latinx youth to gather their best practices and explore places to align our initiatives, with the possibility of this being the next step for their interns. We presented information to THPRD's Welcoming and Inclusive Committee to collect feedback on the creation of materials, researched park and rec agencies and government organizations with internship programs, particularly those geared towards diversity, researched and conducted outreach with colleges and universities, including 2-year, 4-year private and public institutions. We also shared a department presentation with THPRD's management team to provide a status update and confirm the goals of the program, which include promoting a welcoming and inclusive environment for all, including students who identify as Black, Indigenous, and people of color, raising awareness about Parks and Rec as a career path of choice, establishing a path to full-time employment for interns, and creating a workforce that reflects THPRD's community. Following the board's values and priorities, and guided by management's input, supported by district funds, and informed by research and outreach, we've created a framework for the program. So I will now pass the baton to Miles, the district's first intern, and with whom I've had the pleasure to co-supervise with Jennifer Smurl, fitness specialist, so he can share the program's highlights.
Hi, my name is Miles. Oh, next slide, please. Hi, my name is Miles, and I have had the pleasure of being the first intern under this newly developed unique experience. Over the past 12 months, this program has built the foundation it needs to support THPRD's vision of increasing the diversity of those who represent the community we serve. With its newfound title, Diversified, this program is designed for students who identify as Black, Indigenous, and/or people of color to build and develop professional workplace skills with the guidance of parks and recreation supervisors and career mentors. Offering interns tailored career development opportunities depending on their field of interest and allowing them to build and foster skill growth in these areas is just one great aspect of this program. Interns are given the chance to apply their knowledge to a real-world working environment and become more competitive applicants, not only for careers with THPRD, but with other public service organizations that they may choose to work with afterwards. The Diversified program is participating in ongoing recruitment of applicants over multiple disciplines within THPRD. Currently, we have 4 interns placed, 2 in recreation and fitness, 1 in human resources, and 1 in communications, with plans to continue recruiting across other departments within THPRD. In addition, we offer a unique opportunity to collaborate and work with a supervisor and career mentor during your time. This supervisor and mentor will work with the intern, cultivating their skills and guiding them in their preparation to enter a full-time career. We match mentees with career mentors based on their personal and professional experiences. The current mentors in place are Juan Calles, financial aid specialist, who is my mentor, Henry Chan, communication specialist, Cynthia Rodriguez Mendez, office tech, and we are still in the process of confirming our last mentor. And on the next slide, I'll go over some of my personal experiences in this program. Next slide, please.
We might be having a technical delay here.
Okay, no problem.
Does anybody see the personal experience slide?
I do.
I do.
Okay, cool. I'll just go ahead and get started on my end then. Throughout my time here at THPRD as a fitness and recreation intern, the Diversified Program has offered me many opportunities to explore not only my field of interest, but the many different avenues that I could take working within Parks and Recreation. I've had the unique opportunity to be able to help develop this program and the materials for it. I have created supervisor training materials, career mentor resources, along with outreach materials, which have allowed me to understand what it means to build a program and every aspect that goes into that. In addition, I've had the opportunity to work with my career mentor, supervisors, and HR to help better prepare myself to enter a full-time job by refining my resume, as well as improving my interview skills through mock sessions and constructive feedback. My degree program requires us to sit for the exercise physiologist certification exam, and through my work here, it helped me pass my exam because I was finally able to understand how to apply my knowledge of the concepts that I learned in class. I created and implemented workouts with patrons and group fitness classes, as well as one-on-one orientations and assessments. Earlier this month, I was able to assist in running a fitness assessment clinic over at Conestoga Recreation and Aquatic Center in conjunction with the students from Southridge High School Sports Medicine Program. I have also explored what it means to run fitness facilities, from staffing and budgeting to class structuring and equipment condition reports. Most importantly, this internship has allowed me to expand my skills beyond the general scope of the fitness industry and learn how to transfer and apply these skills in whichever career path I decide to pursue, making me a more competitive and more prepared applicant. THPRD has done an amazing job at supporting my personal growth, as well as they have done supporting my professional growth. Since the start of my internship, I have received continued support from all staff, no matter their role or discipline within our organization. Everyone has offered me a helping hand no matter the situation, and it's so rewarding to grow and participate in this internship program, knowing I had a full community of supporters. During my time, I have been able to improve my time management and organizational skills by learning how to balance my work projects, school assignments, and the activities of everyday life. In addition, through presentations, progress reports, interviews, and interdepartmental collaborations, I have been able to strengthen my interpersonal workplace skills, making me a more effective communicator and coworker. And on the next slide, I'll go over next steps for the program. The next steps of the program will include continued internal promotion of the internship program to supervisors, as well as the recruitment of career mentors. We have had great success and excitement from the THPRD staff from the rollout of this program and the opportunity to be a part of it. With the completion of the internship, supervisor training materials, and career mentor resources, we plan to hold training and info sessions for potential supervisors and mentors as this program grows. With current outreach of the program focused mostly on advertisement through PCC, local college and university job boards, the program plans to expand that outreach to more community-based organizations, and we have begun our outreach to local high schools through various tabling sessions. Other next steps for the program would be to explore funding opportunities through potential grants and partnerships with other organizations. We hope to continue to foster program growth through entrance and exit interviews and surveys to be able to analyze program success and learn how to apply the modifications needed to keep the program growing. In addition, we are creating new marketing materials, such as a recruitment video highlighting the aspects of the program and previous intern experience, a collaborative project that both I and our multimedia intern, Nico, have had the pleasure of being a part of. And over the next fiscal year, we are looking to bring on and support about 8 to 10 interns to continue building this program and sharing it with the community that we are so honored to serve. Thank you. That concludes our presentation. Are there any questions, comments, or any of the like?
Just praise. Here comes Felicita.
Yeah, well, just praise. That was wonderful and so nice to meet you, Miles. I'm Felicita. I serve on the board. Nice to meet you too, Mackenzie. Love this. This is exactly what we're all here for. This is what gets us up in the morning. So thank you. This fills my heart in ways you don't know. So I'm so happy. I'm so excited to. I also know that the district is a leader and an innovator, and other people look to us to see the type of work that we're doing. And so I know this will have a ripple effect across the region. And I also know that the I get excited about what this means for the future of the park district and its leadership, and the diversity of its staff, and what that means for programming and all that. Miles, you might not know this, but we have the most diverse board of directors that we've ever had. And as a result, certain conversations have happened, which is really exciting. And what does it mean to ensure that our staff is diverse as well? That's really exciting. I don't think I have any questions. I'm just so excited. Thank you.
Katie?
And I also think in an industry overall, you know, we have THPRD here, but the industry overall to help diversify, whether you stick with THPRD or not, just wonderful opportunities. And I've had the opportunity to work with some PCC exercise science students doing those fitness tests. So I know what some of what you had to do, and I really appreciate the work you've been doing with us. Just one comment. I think maybe I've planted this seed with Melissa or somebody before, thinking about how we may end up rolling some kind of AmeriCorps into this to help guide and oversee the, you know, collaboration of these interns and such. I know we've got excellent staff doing that work, but it does take a lot of staff time, and there's opportunities through AmeriCorps. So I'm happy to chat with you all offline about that, and maybe some opportunities to see how we can go out for AmeriCorps grant or something too. So
Heidi, I'm going to let Mackenzie share a little bit about that real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, Heidi, I love that question. So I'm a two-time AmeriCorps alum, and it was pretty critical as an emerging professional for myself. And so I know the value of that program, as well as Melissa Markham is a AmeriCorps alum member, I think through Oregon Volunteers. So we did some outreach to consider what an AmeriCorps program could look like for the park districts. We met with Oregon Campus Compact to get a better understanding of their VISTA program, which is specifically focused on capacity building, which could be a good fit for us. We decided not to pursue it in this next fiscal year, but it's on our radar for once we do a little bit more foundational work, and as well as consider some other potential funding opportunities as well.
Awesome.
But yeah,
I'm happy to hear that. Yes. And thank you for your service, and Melissa as well. I'm a commissioner on the state volunteer board. And so I'm always thinking about how can we roll in AmeriCorps, VISTA, and that kind of work. But you know what it's all about. So I'm going to quit talking. Thank you. And thank you, Miles, for being here with us tonight and all of your work with the district. I look forward to hearing about your future career.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, right now I'm just I'm looking to transition work as a fitness instructor here with THPRD, and then as I continue to build experience, hopefully move into a full-time role, either here or I would love to stay in public service. I've gained a lot of great experience here, so.
Great. And you don't mind putting me on the spot and asking, when's your graduation?
I actually graduate in 2 weeks. So I graduate, or 3 weeks. I graduate the first weekend in May. So yeah, it's coming up.
Congratulations. That's awesome. Very excited.
Alfredo?
Hey, thank you all for the information and the presentation. You know, one of the things that stood out to me, Miles, as you were talking, was you kind of described, you know, kind of a sense of belonging during your time with the district, and I think that really, you know, speaks volumes to the quality of the program we're getting off the ground here, because it's one thing to bring folks in of different backgrounds and stuff, but it doesn't, you know, do much good if they don't feel like they have a home there ultimately, and they're just kind of brought in to, you know, just expose, but be, you know, second-class citizens, you know, or something like that. So to hear that you came in and felt like you were in a very nurturing environment where people were invested in you, that really stood out to me. So I was really happy to hear that. So yeah, this is great. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you guys for the amazing presentation. I'm just so happy that this program is off and running, and so happy that it's doing well, it's well received, and it's helping you guys as much as it's helping the district. And so it's just so wonderful, and I echo everything that my other board members have said. There's nothing more except just constant, like, keep going, and hopefully we can expand it to get bigger and bigger, because these are the impactful things that will help our community just grow and be more welcoming in the future. Felicita, did you have something else?
Yeah, I guess just as my wheels are turning, which is Doug's favorite, I can't help but think, like, with 5 enthusiastic board members, like, if there's a way for us to be helpful, for us to connect with interns. I mean, we are awful at saying no, so it's just the reality of who we are, and we just love to be helpful. But I don't know if it's helpful for them for interns to get to interact with us, to kind of learn about our roles within the district or anything like that. You can totally disagree with me. It's just a thought. And then Doug, will you remind me, or maybe Julie, because we budgeted for this last year, and was it 2,500? I keep thinking 25.
No, it was 60.
60,000.
Yeah, and so the interns we currently have are on that budget cycle because the budget ends on June 30, and then we have reappropriated funding again in the next budget cycle so that we can continue interns. We have one intern that's going to be year-round, not seasonal, so coming up. And then we also are working with the NEWT program for kids who are graduating that program and going on to college that may be able to continue the internship program. So we do have funds appropriated again this year.
Is it a stipend, or do they get it?
They're paid employees. They're hired just like a part-time employee and paid just like everyone else, appropriate to the area that they're working in. So whether that's fitness, recreation, nature and trails, they are compensated for their work. And then what we do is we try to have them work within their discipline, but then also have another project where they're learning something else. So Miles was instrumental in helping us frame the program, but he's also doing his fitness work. And all of the interns will have that opportunity as well.
Julie, you have been so busy the last year. Thank you for all this work. My goodness, thank you.
Yeah, it should, I think it's important to point out that this type of program obviously comes from a budget recommendation, but it comes from the board's stated values. And because you speak into those, it gives us the ability to propose in a budget format these pretty unique programs that, yes, they do take time and energy, but I venture to guess it is equally as valuable for the employees that are helping structure and are the mentors for these programs, because aspirationally this is where the passion lies. This is why they got into Park and Rec in the beginning, and again, we're all firm believers that yes, THPRD is a great opportunity, but it doesn't have to be us. And just hearing Miles and public service commitment, that's pretty amazing in itself.
Definitely. Well, thank you all for that work.
Thank you. And we're going to take you up on your offer.
Okay, so our last agenda item, I think, is new business system development charges 5-year capital improvement plan update. I think with Aisha, Gary, and Peter.
You bet.
Yeah, good evening, and thank you for having us tonight. I'm Gary Keck. I'm the Design and Development Manager here at the Park District, and with me is Peter Swinton, who is our urban planner, and he's going to be here to help answer any questions you may have at the end. Tonight, staff are requesting Board of Directors approval of the System Development Charge 5-year Capital Improvement Plan update. And if approved, staff will return in May with a formal resolution on your consent agenda to approve the plan. So next slide, please. So each year, staff update the 5-year SDCC CIP and reevaluate the fiscal year project lists. And the reason we complete this annual update is to ensure the district finance staff have accurate and up-to-date information as they develop the next fiscal year's budget. Second, it gives us the opportunity to add new projects, so the district is well positioned to take advantage of SDC eligible opportunities like a grant that might come up throughout the year. And then third, we update the plan to align the project list with current available SDC funds, future revenues, and to ensure that the staff's workload has capacity to take on the projects and get them complete. Next slide, please. So within the SDC 5-year CIP, you will notice the district shows 3 phases for each project. So you're going to see the project name 3 times on the list. And the first phase we show is the concept planning. And this phase includes the majority of our public engagement, helps us get to the preferred concept plan that we bring to the board eventually. And this phase generally takes 9 to 12 months for a typical neighborhood park. The second phase you'll notice on there is called design and permitting. And this is where we refine the design so that we can go through the land use process. And then once we're through that, we refine even more and we create our construction documents, which we use to get the development permits, and we use it for bidding purposes as well. And this is a longer phase. It takes anywhere from 18 to 20 months, depending on the permit requirements and the project and the site. And the last phase is construction, and this one typically takes 6 to 8 months from start to finish. And the reason we began showing the phasing in the SDC, the 5-year CIP, was to be more transparent to the public. It shows the stage of development that we anticipate being in each year. Next slide, please. So the proposed 5-year SDC CIP includes 3 general updates. The first is adding new projects. We have a total of 7 new projects that we're adding. 6 of them are SDC credit projects with developers. The second update is adding the 2026/27 fiscal year. So with that, we have a full 5-year outlook. And the last update is the refinement of the anticipated project sequencing within that 5-year list to reflect the current staff's capacity and the expected SDCs that'll be available. We've made some of these adjustments to the sequencing to accommodate the upcoming 2019, the Metro Bond, the local show projects. We have 5 projects that we're pursuing. And then we also have some larger capital replacement projects that the department's been helping on. So that's one of the reasons we've had to resequence a few things. Next slide, please. So here is a list of the projects that we've added in the 5-year CIP. The HMT complex improvements. This is the grant application that we submitted for it's called the Economic Development Administration Grant. It's the one where we're looking to add pickleball courts to HMT, as well as converting baseball field 2 from natural grass to synthetic, and then also repaving the north parking lot. So we've added that in there. The new trail development projects are SDC credit projects with developers to provide portions of community trails through their developments as they move forward. And then you'll see the new neighborhood parks are, again, SDC credit projects that we're collaborating on with various developers. You recently saw South Cooper Mountain with a Wish Camper development. We brought a couple of those concept plans to you in recent months. Next slide, please. So as mentioned earlier, staff are seeking Board of Directors approval of the 5-year SDC capital improvement plan update. And if approved tonight, staff will return in May with a formal resolution that will be on the board's consent agenda in May. So that concludes our presentation, and Peter and I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any of my board members have questions? I think I couldn't see everybody's faces, so I'm going to say no. I did have a question for the SDC credit projects. When the developer is doing it, do they do all of that? Do we do the concept planning and then they're just in charge of building it, or do they take over the whole project and then just turn it over to us afterwards? Or how does that normally work when a developer is building a park or something?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a combination, I'd say. They're the lead, so they're hiring the consultants. They typically already have the consultants on board because they're already developing a whole community, right? So it's easy enough for them to add this piece to their contract. But what we do is we put together an internal design team like we do on any project, and we meet with their consultants and give them feedback as we move through the processes. Early on in the project, depending on the project, we might help a little more on the engagement side. We're a lot better at it, I feel, and we have a lot more avenues to reach out to the community. So there's on that side, I'd say we lead it a little more. But when we get into the design, all designs have to go through our staff to get approved as we go through each step. Through the concept plans, and then we bring it to you all, the board, for approval. Then when we move into land use, they're doing all the applications, but we're reviewing them before they go in. And then ultimately their contractors are building it, and then we are approving it at the end. So it's not as intense time-wise for our staff on those because the consultants are leading it, but we are involved from start to finish just to make sure we get what we want. Because at the end of the day, we're going to give them credits, right? So we want to make sure it's what we're going to be able to maintain and what the public wants.
Gotcha. And then do they decide, like, are they like, we want $300,000, or is it just depending on the park size, and then that's discussed between the two groups of how much credit that's going to be allotted for that specific park or trail?
Yeah, it comes through a couple of ways. Typically, they're going to know how many units they're building. So they're going to know, well, we're going to owe you $5 million. So, and we know we want to park in our development, and we negotiate, if we want the park in there, we'll say, yeah, we'll work with you on an SDC credit project. When it comes to the park, the dollar amounts for the parks, I'll say Janine was involved in this most in years past. But sometimes they donate land, sometimes we pay for the land. So that comes from that portion of credits potentially that they would owe us. We do look at the designs and make sure that they're not over designing it. We want to make sure they're typically we want them to stay within the SDC credit, or even under it would be better, so we can use SDCs at other spots. So that's a negotiation that we look at, and we try to do that balance with the concept plan before we bring it to you. We have an idea of what it's going to cost, and that it makes sense to us on a staff level based on all the other work that we do.
Thank you. Anybody else have questions? No. So Gary, do you just need like a thumbs up from us or anything?
Yeah, I think that'll be.
Oh yeah, there it is, a motion. See, I'm not on top of the motions today.
Can I make the motion? Can I move that the board of directors approve the system development charge 5-year capital improvement plan project list?
That was Heidi. I'll second that.
All right, Jessica?
Felisa de Monteblanco?
Yes.
Barbie Miner?
Yes.
Heidi Edwards?
Yes.
Alfredo Moreno?
Yes.
Tia Ping?
Yeah. Great.
Thank you.
Are we done, Doug?
We are there.
Okay, so thank you everyone for a great night. Thank you for staff for being here, and all of our presenters today. We really appreciate every single one of you, and yay to our volunteers and Arab Heritage Month. So thank you everyone. Have a great night.
Bye-bye.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.